without.
Okay, I would like to call the meeting of the Community Police Review Board to order.
Okay.
Could we have the roll call, please?
Yes. Downing.
Here.
Jensen. Here. McConnell.
Here.
Meckes.
Present.
Remington. Townsend.
Here.
Vanderbeck.
Is anybody really here?
Yeah. We're trying.
We're doing the best we can.
There you go.
Okay. We're going to be looking at the consent calendar as presented or as amended, and that is the minutes of the meeting on February 14th. I need a motion to adopt it.
So moved.
Second. Okay. All in favor? Do I have to do a roll call?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay. Is there any discussion regarding the consent calendar? Okay. Now we can vote.
Yep, so we'll do another roll call. This one, so, Jensen? I guess-
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's right. McConnell?
Yes.
Meckes?
Sorry, get right.
Remington?
Yes.
Townsend?
Yes.
Vanderbeck?
Yes.
Downing?
Yes.
Okay, new business, we can only discuss what is on the agenda. Sal, you had wanted to talk about prevention of repeat violations.
Here comes Pat now, so.
Yeah, this is a result of that incident with the skater, you might recall.
I can.
And apparently that person had been the subject of calls by the police somewhere between 50 and 100 times.
Wait, are we talking about? Where's Pat?
He's right beside you.
Oh, yeah, great, okay. Okay, never mind, go ahead. Sorry.
So there's something wrong, broken when one person is able to monopolize the attention of the police and city and resources that many times. And there must be some way of referring such a person somewhere where for the good of the person and for the good of the victim as well, so that we don't monopolize valuable resources. There could be somebody with a heart attack, some domestic violence. There could be some extremely important incident taking place when the police is being monopolized by the person repeatedly, and this is dozens and dozens of times. So I'd like to know whether there is something already in place, and if there isn't, whether there ought to be.
I think Denise
Do you want
can.
me to speak? There is, and actually that individual was referred and has been helped because we were having daily calls with him and we haven't had a call with him in months. So it just takes a while. A lot of people are service resistant, and so that's part of what our mental health liaisons work with, our officers too, and like straight outreach, because oftentimes a lot of the people who are having the high service or high volume of services oftentimes are a mental crisis, homeless crisis, and it just, you have to meet them where they are, and sometimes that takes a while. And so this is the subject's a prime example of that. It just took him a while for us to be, and then sometimes they'll come in and out of it because of, their illnesses they suffer from. So they may be good for a while, and then they may be back out in the community again because of, for whatever reason, maybe they quit taking medication or something changes with their medication. And we just always are continually making those referrals. So like I said, he's one that we haven't, because I watch those every morning and see the same names, and that when I start seeing a person's name multiple times, and it's but really, like, it's going to be the majority, it's going to be mental health or substance abuse issues or homelessness, and we'll get street outreach involved, mental health liaison, and we'll work with community, we'll work with GuideLink, you know, sometimes trying to get criminal orders for people or just getting them stable housing. They get in stable housing, and sometimes they'll start taking their medication, or they get in stable housing and they may have issues there. We'll deal with them there, but they'll have caseworkers. So we do have those referrals there. We just, you know, they'll just go in and out of it. And sometimes the person will just be resistant, and it will take a while. Sometimes they never come around, but you know, they'll do sometimes for a little bit.
And I think there's some hope. So the Johnson County emergency, I'm going to botch this, Johnson County emergency, the dispatchers, the place that runs the dispatchers, they just received training to start triaging calls directly to mobile crisis without having to go through the police first. So hopefully some of that resistance will decrease when it's not always an officer responding.
Yes. And one thing to understand about 988 and 911 is that 988 is not dispatching calls. So, and you can't call for somebody else. So
I'm not talking about 988. I'm talking about the mobile crisis.
Yeah. So a lot of times, mobile crisis will go with us to determine if the situation is safe, and the person has to agree for mobile crisis to come. People don't have to agree for us to come. So we come and then we'll convince them, right? We'll talk to them, try to get the mobile crisis. But mobile crisis doesn't always just get dispatched if the person isn't agreeable to mobile crisis. Or you see a person in crisis. A lot of times our calls for people in crisis will come from an observation. Someone calls and they're like, I'm concerned. I see this person doing this. I'm concerned for them. I think they're having a mental health issue. And sometimes they're not violent, but let's say they're yelling, they're doing something, they're not violent, or they're crying. Mobile crisis won't be dispatched to them. They'll still dispatch police. They can't just dispatch mobile crisis to respond to that.
May I follow up?
But we'll make the referral, and mobile crisis will go out if the person's agreeable. They'll go out without us, so they do respond without us too. So you have that, and a lot of times a person will call and be agreeable to mobile crisis coming, and then they'll come, and we won't have to be involved at all. But if they do make a threat of that they're actively suicidal, then they will send emergency services for them.
It seems rather coincidental that after between 50 and 100 times, the time that he was arrested, he did not repeat. So
it took a few times after
let me just finish.
Yeah.
Okay, so it would seem to me logical to conclude that the reason why he did not repeat is because he was finally arrested, that nothing really was done before. And between 50 and 100 times is way too much.
Yes.
So, you know, maybe 3, 5 times, 10 times. So that in other words, the evidence showed there is nothing is being done.
You know, so I agree with you, and I personally believe that consequences, I mean, you know, when someone is doing something and there's a penalty have to pay for that, it gets their attention. What I'm hearing is, I agree with both sides, but I do feel that maybe the problem is you either got a penalty or, you know, you provide services. And maybe if there's something we can do to identify and provide service earlier, then that person wouldn't be out being arrested, and it's sort of like he has a free realm to do what he wants to do.
And we don't know that the police haven't done something the 30 or 50 times, you know, and like Denise said, it's the person has to agree to cooperate. If they haven't broken a law, they can't do anything. If they're just causing a disturbance or something, you don't throw somebody in jail for that. But I understand the frustration, but I also don't think it's fair to assume that nothing has been done all those times.
I think it's to remember they have to be at the place where they're ready to accept
But if
help.
they're ready to accept, then we wouldn't have the problem. The
Yes.
fact is
Sometimes
that
it
this
takes them-
person was
sometimes
not
it will
ready to
take-
accept.
Yeah, it will take
So,
them
so
a
what do you
while.
do? You just leave it?
No,
Yeah.
you
Oh.
continue
Yeah.
to make the referrals and try to help them the best until they're ready. It's a lot of times, it's the challenges of their life that keep them from being ready to accept that. That's why you would think, if someone is homeless, the minute you would offer them an apartment, they would take it. And sometimes they're not ready for that. And so it will take multiple times for street outreach to meet them where they are, because there's a lot of mental challenges going on with them. And so you just continue we always continue to work with people, right? We don't say no, the police
Well,
always
it
go.
does
and
sound
make the
very nice,
referrals.
but what you're saying is that you're waiting for the person to be ready, but you're also waiting for somebody to be a victim, and that person itself
Well,
being a victim.
well, see, the thing is-
Are you
yes.
thinking of the consequences
Yes.
while you're waiting?
So when we take someone to jail, though, they're still released. So they'll repeat the behaviors. They may still be getting taken to jail. They'll repeat the behaviors if it's a mental illness situation or a substance abuse or that. Some people may just be a criminal. We do have those in town too. We just have burglars, right? We have some people who it's got nothing to do with a mental health diagnosis. Those people until they go to jail for a long time or prison because they commit a harsh enough crime, that's what we work for to try to prevent. And if we have a crime that occurs with a victim, it's the victim's call on what they want to happen too. So, let's say somebody assaults somebody, but the victim doesn't want to do anything. We can't charge them with assault without having a victim. So people do go to jail, but they don't stay there. Jail is a temporary
But in this
thing.
case, you did have victims who called.
Yes, and so the person was arrested. But by the time you guys received the complaint and by the end of it, there's been way more dealings probably with the individual.
And putting
I
someone in jail doesn't prevent repeat behaviors too. There's plenty of statistics that show that putting someone in jail does not prevent them from rescinding. Actually, recidivism rate is really high, especially
Yeah,
if
I'm
they're
not
in
asking for
prison.
jail. All I'm asking is for referral somewhere.
Well, and I
Sooner,
think
yeah.
that's one of the difficulties when you're working with mental illness. If you're working with someone that just has negative behavior and a disrespect for the law, that's one scenario. If you're working with someone that has mental illness, it's a totally different one. And in most cases, the objective is to get that person on the appropriate medication. Then, like you say, they become very functional.
Ideally, a locked facility, but even when we get committals, when we work with GuideLink and community and our mental health liaison, we get committals for people, that still doesn't keep them in for a lengthy period of time. It will take them in up to 72 hours, and then they're usually going to get an outpatient assistance, and then that's when they have to work with keeping compliant with a medication or behavioral modification, whatever their program is.
I think there's two additional issues too, is the resources that are or are not available to offer an individual and the limited resources. In the state as a larger than Iowa City, I can tell you what the waits are for psych beds right now, or for inpatient treatment.
No kidding.
Yeah,
It's
everybody
ridiculous.
knows.
If you can even get one here, or if,
Yeah.
otherwise it'll take you out of the
The
state.
other thing is
They have to send them out of state.
that, when Denise says, a person isn't ready, that doesn't mean you're waiting for them to say, oh, sure, okay, I'll go. Sometimes it's presenting them with the situation and they make the choice.
It's important to note too that a lot of those calls are probably originating as like a welfare check where there may not be an underlying criminal offense. And then we're really at the mercy of that person to accept services or finding a place either to take them or finding an alternative
Yeah,
resource
because they
for
can
them.
accept, but then all of a sudden, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to spend, 12, 18 days in the ER until we find a bed for
Yeah,
you.
being boarded in an emergency.
So,
room
until we get an administration in this state that says, yes, we care about mental health, and until our society says, at large, that we care about all human beings, we're still going to have repeat offenses. What you are describing is always continually going to happen until some major macro nation society level things happen. We're always going to have victims. The police will always be busy. We're always going to have repeat people until we actually care. And we don't live in a nation that cares.
One of the things that I would like to see happen, not just for, incarceration, but I feel that a lot of these individuals are just loose. They're out there on their own, or
Sure.
they've got families that's so frustrated that they've given up. So, maybe arresting with the understanding that we're doing this to try to get this person where they need to be. I could live with that, but otherwise, when you're dealing with mental illness, it's so unpredictable that it's frightening.
Well, that's why we have so many homeless people, because they don't want to go into the shelters or the apartments that are being provided now because there are rules. Can't smoke, can't drink.
We don't have any wet shelter services here, and we don't have any services that are
That's right. It's
completely
just
wet shelter services.
it's just a shelter where they could go.
And animals too.
And also they stop taking their meds. They don't go get the prescriptions filled.
That's the biggest
Or
problem.
rent gets too high.
Yeah.
You know,
So,
there
it's so
are plenty of
complicated.
full-time working homeless.
I do think that the
Sal's got his hand
resources is to continue to look at resources.
Let's say the guy gets in the program.
I'd like to,
Did the referrals. You guys ever go back and just talk to the guys? Even though they're still in the program and that. So they get to know
This is out of
you.
order.
Could
They
we,
will. We often
yeah, could we have the whole conversation, please?
It's okay.
So they know
So
that you guys are
The
okay.
housing
they're not
workers,
bad.
yeah, the 501 and Cross Park Place. So, yeah,
Okay.
the officers are coming
Still
and going there. And that's another thing is with our mental health liaisons is doing a lot of that aftercare and tracking that, because things just keep going for us and there's new people and then there's crashes and there's this. And I'm sure you guys know we're getting our second mental health liaison, so we'll have some more coverage and some more follow-up care to help us out too.
Okay.
yeah, I'd like to see something specific where the police says, after 3 times, we refer this person to this particular agency. After 5 times, that person is arrested, or given a choice. You take your medicine, or you go to jail. I'd like to see
Drug courts
several
do that,
steps.
Drug courts will do that. We don't have
Who
drug
did you
courts.
refer this person to?
Yeah, so they'll put that in the call for service, but we don't always have it, we can't, there's sometimes when there's a victim involved that we cannot say, you do this, or you go to jail. A victim may say, I want, maybe a business that says, and let's say they stole it high enough that they would go to jail, and they're like, I want them charged. Well, we need to charge them. We can't say this or that. We cannot tell someone they have to take their medication. Now, if they
But
get
this
drug courts
particular
here.
person, this particular incident, who did you refer that person to?
We can't talk.
I can't tell you. There's a lot of things we can't tell, and the service agencies don't also want us to share. What the officers will say, they'll clear it out that a referral was made, but it won't be public information to where they were referred.
But you did refer that person to someone.
But what I can tell you is that, the agencies we have in town, we have street outreach, we have our mental health liaisons, and when they go to jail, there's also, they're screened and talked to about services. That's part of that too. We have Abby Health. I mean, there's all sorts of entities working around in our community. It is great. It's rich with resources when people are ready for those. And then those people also reach out on their own too, but may not be telling the police. Right.
And I think it's important that we understand the entire situation. A lot of people feel that individuals with mental disabilities, they just stop taking their medicine because they just don't want to take it. The major reason, when I was working with these individuals, the major reason they stop taking the medication is because of the side effects that the medication
Or
has.
cost. We all know pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
Jack.
But side effects, you know, we get them, you know, we talk them into getting on the medicine, and they wanna comply, they wanna get better, but then when they have to deal with all these side effects that in some cases may be to them worse than the medication, they stop taking it.
Or it's contraindicated with a substance that they use, and they got a one-time, you know, you go to this one appointment, you have a real quick assessment, we give you a med, which is often the case with a lot of these low-income clinics, and then they don't actually get ongoing treatment for their substance use disorder. So, well, I can't take this and drink, so you know, there's all sorts of things involved.
So so there are a lot of things in play here. Unfortunately, most of them are undercurrent and people don't see them.
Okay, I know we want to concentrate on that one situation. However, it's a problem across the board. And I think that there's no one thing to blame other than the macro system. We're not going to be able to solve that, and we need to move on.
Okay, I may not have specifics or obtain the specific on that particular person, but can you, in general, give us a list of agencies you refer people to?
I would say our main is what we would make the referrals, like with Mobile Crisis, people to GuideLink, people to Shelter House. They're going to probably then refer out more to then additional agencies. Those would be our main ones. Or we take people to the hospital, like they'll want to do a voluntary committal, or we do an involuntary, then they'll get resources there that will spread out across the community. So who we work closely with and we have partnerships with, you know, it's going to be Shelter House and GuideLink and Community. And if it's a juvenile, UAY, United Action for Youth, you know, DVIP, RVAP, I mean, there's some main entities that we work with, and then, but they'll probably then also make additional referrals. We have our victim services assistant, so, and she'll additionally, she works with several groups, so then depending on, with a victim, she's going to be working with victims, right, and so she'll make referrals as she's talking to the victim, what they may need. It may be a child care issue they have, so she'll make child issues to like 4Cs. Joa, our mental health liaison, now he's a community employee, and so is our next one. Now, they're going to be they're going to be stepping in even more so. We'll be making referrals to them where they'll be going on the call right with us, and then they make additional referrals to resources in the community.
I've worked with him on a couple of situations. He's done a great job.
Yeah, Joe is an amazing
They're doing a great job.
He's a
We
great
like
asset to
100
the city.
Joas.
Yes.
100 officers to go with 100 Joas, right?
There you go. That's right.
But yeah, so even if Joa or our new person Candace, if they're not working, then the information will make it forwarded to them to say, please follow up with this person or this family.
Does it seem to you a little strange that somebody who is, you know, with whom you have had calls 50 to 100 times that there's something wrong with the system?
That's the system.
I think we all agree that there's something wrong with the system.
Somebody's not doing their work.
No,
Well,
I think there are a lot of people working very hard, and I
Is
think
that what you're going to tell a victim who's been beaten up?
we've come a long way, and you know, I can't always prevent. We can't always.
But you know, in fairness, I think we want to be fair to the individual with the mental illness, but we also have a need to be fair to the public. And I guess just coming out with where Saul is coming from, should we arrest individuals at an earlier number of contact with the police or inappropriate behaviors, instead of just saying they have mental illness and letting it ring out. And,
Well, we don't always use that as a defense. We're not giving them a defense. We deal with each individual situation as it's happening, and if someone's being violent, then a social service agency isn't going to take them, and sometimes our only choice is we take them to jail. If we have a victim, we may have to take them to jail. People may go to jail multiple times. The whole goal, though, is if we can divert them, and let's say they're not violent, they're intoxicated. Before, we didn't have a sobering unit, and if someone couldn't care for themselves, we didn't have a choice. We'd have to take them to jail. You know, back earlier in my career. Now, if we have a nonviolent person and they're just intoxicated and there's no one to care for them, we can't leave them by themselves, but the hospital's full, well, now we have a sobering unit. So there's things like that, but the next time, maybe they're violent and we have to take them to jail.
And that's a department policy.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't really,
Yeah. We need to move on.
Yes.
I hate to
Yes.
jump in here, but
Yes.
we're on the very first item on the agenda. We've
Yeah.
got a long one. It's a discussion we could have all night
We're happy
long.
to discuss anything.
Yeah.
And I'd also encourage you to talk to the people at Mobile Crisis and Community and you guys. We can bring Joe and Candace in here too.
the simple answer is vote in the next election. Okay, the next item was one that I asked for, and I really don't remember everything that it was I asked for. I think it was because on the use of force, when we get the papers at the end of the month, it seemed like each officer, you know, would make that report. And I was wondering if that's counted twice then, but it's just one incident. Does that make any sense?
I think I understand what you're saying, is if there's an incident, one incident involving multiple officers, how many
Yes.
times does that use of force get counted? So
Well-
Officer A is involved and has some type of use of force. Then Officer B is involved. If he has or she has an additional use of force, that's
Well, you
two.
probably just
Yeah,
The numbers have to
if
pull
it's
numbers.
yeah, so if it's the forces against the same individual, then it'll be counted as one individual, and then the highest use of force will be
Yeah.
analyzed there. If it's multiple people in one incident, then each individual against whom force is used will be counted as one use of force. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we still track it individually on the officers, so each officer would have that if they used force in that incident, it would show they had used force.
Okay,
So it
so
wouldn't just be like, we just have one and then,
It'd be twice though, like let's say he had force against citizen A and then also force against citizen B, that'd be two for him?
that'd be two.
Okay, that's what we wanted to know.
Okay. Next, we have the introduction of
The second introduction.
Lieutenant Jeff Bink.
Thank you. I don't know what to say. I appreciate it. No, yeah, like Captain Brothers had said, I'm now in the newly created Office of Professional Standards. So I'll be looking at use of force issues and internal investigations, whether that's external or internal, and training issues, CALIA, policy stuff through Lexipol, things like that. So I've been busy so far, so I'm enjoying it. Yeah. I did want to mention that I know you get those use of force reports
Yes.
on a monthly basis. And I've reformatted that so it'll be easier to read, and so hopefully you'll like that.
Okay.
I saw where all the
Reformatting
narrative
is
was
good in
like
any way.
6 pages long down the side of the.
Right.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
the
so
old-
I've
the old box.
redone that, so it'll
I
be.
appreciate that.
Hopefully it'll look a lot better for you.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to add that Lieutenant Fink,
We're not British.
is fluent in Spanish, and not only is he fluent, but he professes it. So he's as a professor of Spanish.
Yeah, used to.
Yeah.
Former.
Okay, turn the page. Okay, old business. We have, the first item is a community forum discussion. And I would like, how many of you have been to an actual meeting, not a Zoom meeting?
I asked you a question.
You have, okay.
Pat has.
Okay, so in terms of what was the structure of it when you were attending before?
I've been through a number of them. I think, you know, the more relaxed we can make the topic, I think the more likely we would be to have potentially some feedback.
Okay.
So if the more structured or more formal we are, I think you know, people are going to be more hesitant. I think there's nothing wrong with the chief or whoever coming and talking. I mean, because if it's an opportunity to share with people what we do, it's also an opportunity to share, you know, and perhaps address issues that are going on in the city. So I think that's fine.
Okay, that's good. I know last year we had discussion about whether or not there were refreshments. Has that happened in the past?
No, I asked Kelly.
Oh, no,
She
okay,
said
great.
no, so she said,
That's one,
don't worry about that.
one thing off the table.
You have.
I appreciate
Kelly-
refreshments, but yeah.
Kelly said no.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
I think the very first one. And we didn't do the last one or two. I think what we did, like, I don't remember where they came from. We did like cookies and some coffee and some drinks, just, you know.
I don't think Kelly's a fan of doing that. Just because we have no idea
Yeah.
what
How
to
many?
expect and
Well,
how
I think you're
many,
dealing with
so.
two things, you know, you're dealing with the forum, and then you're dealing with whether or not you want the people to stick around afterwards.
Good point.
And the other thing is our publicity. We have the flyer.
Yes.
Who can, I mean, can people take them and put them up where you work and different places for?
That is
Sure.
why I have this stack right here, just to pass around and take some if you can and post them in public places, like she said.
I imagine somebody with the city does press releases. for
Yes,
that, right?
and there are scheduled press releases. One has already gone out. There'll be another. Our communications department takes care of doing that, but there's a calendar that tells me what to do when and all of that. So we just follow
I have to
that.
have that calendar.
Yeah.
What am I doing? Oh.
Yeah. So anyway.
Take all of them.
No, I didn't know. Good couple.
Does anybody
I don't have-
have any further discussion about what we should do, not do?
I will just let you know so far, but it's very early. We haven't received any correspondence from anyone in the public yet.
So,
And they have till April 10th. which is
Yeah.
on-
How about on social media? Are we doing anything on any of the Facebook pages?
That is what
Twitter?
communications,
They done anything there yet?
I honestly, I don't know. I will check with them. It's
just-
part of their process.
Yeah.
I mean, because
I
we,
mean, how it used to be presented is not, it may not attract as much attention now.
right, well, and they're very,
So,
they
Yeah.
are
Oh, yeah.
very up on all that. But that is one of the things in my calendar is that we send the information to them to post on social media, so. But I will double check that.
Whatever happened to the video,
What video?
the recording?
What are we talking about?
The CPRB members, we actually filmed it in the studio and it was run on some of the,
Well,
Cable
since I wasn't
channels.
here, I'm not sure, but there is a couple of
We did.
CDs in
I just
a
was
drawer,
curious.
and I know there's one that says CPRB, oh shoot, what do you call it?
it was like a PSA. And it had members of the CPRB and.
Oh, I've
little
seen
clips
that.
of
I've saw it on an
Bob
old
Hardy did it.
video. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I'll have to check on that, but
I just,
I think it would have to be redone at this point.
Well, that kind of thing, when you're doing social media stuff too, adding, like if you have like an event up, instead of just the virtual flyers, when you have the events up, which I know the city does, if you do things like that ongoing leading up to the event, like if you did like in the discussion of the event, member highlights, and did, you know, like every 3 or 4 days leading up a different, you know, picture and snippet of a different member, that kind of thing helps people remember and keeps their focus and keeps it coming up on their timeline over and over again, instead of just
I can
the one time.
I can ask.
Post it on Facebook or Meta, that would do it.
Again, it's all handled by communications. There are ADA rules and all of that. That's why I can't do it.
Sure.
But I will certainly check with them and see what their thoughts are on that. Because there's things that I think we should be able to do, but then we find out we can't because of whatever reason.
Yeah, it'll probably just, like if we have, as far as the ADA stuff, that's probably just things like making sure there's image descriptions
well, in fact,
and the
this is
appropriate,
not,
you know, if you have any.
I got a note from Shannon, who's the director of the department, who said, this is not what we would normally send out. They have created a new version, and I guess it was suggested before I was here that we change it, and of course I didn't know that, and Kelly just so she said we're fine with this because we have to be.
If you need accommodations statement.
I would imagine, and then just a whole different look. It's different colors, and I know that all plays a part. So, but I will check with them on social media.
And if they could place notifications in the paper, not with all the committees and the little print in the back page that mentions every committee and what they did that week or month, and
and that would come out of your budget for this, but I think there's a budget for that. I don't know at all.
I don't remember ever hearing back after we presented our proposed budget to City Council.
I actually asked Kelly about that today because I said, is that something that's supposed to be done annually? And she said, no, it was done when I guess the group had requested some, I don't know, if you needed more money for certain things. I don't know what the situation was, but that was in 21.
I mean, we requested Zoom meetings. And I just don't remember ever getting a correspondence back about anything on our budget, what was and was not approved.
Well, probably.
Does anybody,
everything was approved.
Do you have any idea how much money we have? Because I didn't know when I was chair.
Nope. No.
That's a problem.
Yeah, I think we just have to assume that everything was approved.
Well, but
we're obviously not on Zoom.
That's a fun thing to say.
I will ask about that. I'll look into the into our system for the council meeting, and because I know it went to council because there's a cover sheet and the stuff that I saw, but I'll see if it was approved, and then what does that mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Because there was a line item for forums in there specifically.
Yeah.
Community outreach and forums.
Yeah, and newspaper ads and
I was just going to mention the Gazette. They follow this real well. They follow all city.
And usually too, when the city sends out news releases, the newspapers will pick it up, and then they'll want to call in and review and so on. But yeah, you can't be guaranteed that's going to happen. So I'll check.
Okay. Do we have any more discussion about the upcoming forum? Okay. We had a homework assignment. Chief Liston had asked us if we had any suggestions to add to the core values list. I wonder if anybody had thought of anything to add.
So I was not at the last meeting, but I did email the chief and ask if there was any information that he had shared at the last meeting so that I could respond. And his answer was we would discuss it at this meeting. So
he did answer your email, and he talked about exactly what he's looking for. But I know this is just kind of an ongoing. It's going to stay on old business until.
I went and pulled off the city website the mission statement, because I thought, can anybody here even say what the mission statement is?
Yeah, maybe it's a good idea for the next agenda to put a copy of it.
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
everybody can
sounds
see it.
good.
That would be good
That
because,
would be helpful, because that's what I was kind of looking for, is I'm glad to provide feedback, I'm glad to provide suggestions. I don't know what, and I apologize, I missed the last week.
Yeah,
that's
it's all
okay.
right.
It's okay.
You can miss a meeting.
It was very
I try
vague.
not to.
So it's not really adding, it's like
Oh, yeah,
suggestions.
It was like the fastest meeting
Suggestions.
ever.
I gotta
think
tell
we were in and out in
Skip
20
about
minutes.
Yeah,
It was
It was-
the fastest.
Are you saying, because I wasn't here?
I'm just saying, you didn't miss much.
Oh, okay.
We were in and out in 15 or 20 minutes.
All right.
It was wild.
The next item is any public comment of items not on the agenda.
No public here.
Why?
There's no public
There's
here.
no public here. All right. Do we have any board information to share?
That's the board members, not me.
Oh, okay, that's. Do the members have anything they want to share? Or anything you would like to add for new business on the next agenda? Guess not. Okay, staff information.
Nope,
You have no staff information.
I don't.
All right. Moving right along. Okay, the tentative meeting schedule and future agendas. April 11th. April 20th is the community forum. May 9th is another one of the board meetings, and June 13th. Does anyone have conflict with any of those dates?
Yeah, the 20th of April and May 9th, I will not be here. I'll be
Okay,
in the air going to Ireland.
You're gonna miss the community forum?
Yeah, I'm gonna have
Oh.
to miss that.
Yeah.
I hope you have a good time.
Oh, I'll have
My-
a blast.
my-
I mean,
Yeah.
She like
My
us to sit here with a Zoom.
sister-in-law, lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wanna sit
That's
there with the
recorded.
Zoom?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go.
All right, we can get one of those conference phones, those are fun.
Yeah, I'll be right on there.
Maybe I should have brought this up earlier, but at the April 11th meeting, which is the one before the community forum, could we maybe, as part of that discussion, or part of that meeting, make sure all the staff members know what's gonna take place?
Yep.
So in other words, what everybody's role is, kind of what the format is, how we're going to be sitting, whether we're introduced, who talks, who doesn't, if somebody's gonna talk about a specific topic a little bit, so it isn't a surprise when we
And
get to
that's
the forum.
up to you guys, you know that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's all, I just think it's helpful, so
Oh,
if you
yeah.
walk in, you've never been there before, you have no idea, it would be nice to know ahead of time.
So I will just leave it on old business?
Yeah.
And then we'll just, right? Okay.
I think one thing is if there's going to be a time limit on how long public, speaks.
That won't be an issue.
I don't.
That won't be an issue, okay. Okay, so,
If it's not too late, if I'm not out of order, I'd like to request a list of agencies that the police department works with.
I thought
Not a
that,
discussion, just a list of agencies
I can go
that
grab
they
a
refer.
booklet and give it to you right now if you like, of the agencies. that-
Well, I'd like the board to receive, to get that.
Could we include that in the
There's no
next packet?
hurry.
did you?
You can add that for new business.
You could add that to the
Okay.
next packet and just add it to the copy.
All right,
I'm gonna be out of town on June 13th too, but I can get somebody to fill in for me, so
Okay.
okay,
I need to change it for that reason.
all right. So,
Somebody love you.
do we need to change the May 9th meeting when Rick will be gone?
Ricky's gonna be gone, but
You said April 20th and
April
9th?
20th and May 9th.
Oh,
Yeah, it's gonna be a long trip.
excellent.
Yeah, it'll be great.
You can zoom in.
I could, but she discussed that, but I don't think
Yeah.
that'll work out well.
Oh, we
It's a 6-hour time difference, it'd be like 10:30, 11.
Piece of cake.
How many pints I have.
Yeah.
I'm going on vacation this week,
Okay.
And it will be the first time I've been away from children for more than 2 days in 20 years, and I am so excited.
Oh,
You'd be calling at home every 30 minutes.
Turn off
We
your
don't have to
phone.
vote. Okay. Okay, I need a motion to adjourn to executive session. Who said that?
I'm gonna say,
Moving a
One of us
second.
said it, one of us seconded it.
okay.
Yeah.
Amanda.
I'll
It
set
was
them.
over on
And
Mandy.
it is 6.
Orville first did, and Orville moved it, and Mandy did it.
Okay. Okay, we need a vote.
We need a motion.
We got a motion.
I
Just did
move
it.
to set the level of review for 2211 to 8871D. Request additional investigation by the police chief.
Second.
We need to do. Okay.
Here we go. Downing,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
McConnell,
Yes.
Meckes,
Yep.
Remington,
Yes.
Townsend,
Yes.
Vanderbeck.
Yes.
I move to set the level of review for 2212 to 8871D. Request additional investigation.
Second.
Jensen,
Yes.
McConnell,
Yes.
Meckes, Remington,
Yes.
Townsend,
Yes.
Vanderbeck,
Yes.
Downing.
Yes.
I
You
make,
don't need those cards anymore, can't you just?
You know, I feel like I can just see
Hell.
it here.
Now we need a motion to summarily dismiss complaint 2301.
make a motion to dismiss complaint 2301.
Second.
Meckes,
Yes.
Remington,
Yes.
Townsend,
Yes.
Vanderbeck,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
McConnell.
Yes.
Make a motion to dismiss 23-03.
Second.
Remington, Townsend,
Yes.
Vanderbeck,
Yes.
Downing,
Just keep going.
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
McConnell,
Yes.
Meckes.
Yes.
And I lead.
Okay, I need a motion for adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.